Part two, understanding, and this is about her. This is about the woman now. So we've talked about you. Now we're going to talk about the woman. I call this awareness, and that's the A in ACT leadership. So awareness is big, obviously. If there's like three, A, C, and T, it's a big deal. So awareness is all about exploring and understanding the woman in front of you. If you think about leadership, be a leader and understand who you're leading. Now, most guys, I think, when they're talking to a woman, what they're really doing is talking to the concept of a woman. They're not actually talking to an individual. So you're looking at her, you see her tits, her cleavage, her body, and she just looks like a female that would be nice to have sex with. And so you're in your head, you're thinking, what should I say? The real question what that really means is, what do I say to girls to make them want to sleep with me or to get them to give me sex, really? So really what you're asking is, what do I say to girls so they give me sex? And this girl's talking, and the problem there is you're trying to figure out what girls want to hear. You're not paying attention to this individual woman in front of you. And if you just fucking pay attention, you might understand what she wanted to hear. But you shouldn't even be thinking about what she wants to hear. You should be focused on learning about what you want to learn about her. Big difference. So, think about awareness. Think about a quarterback. Good quarterback has great field awareness. He can see. That's a tough job, right? It's a game, but at the same time, that's a hard thing to do. Typically, quarterbacks are very smart guys. They're very aware, and they can see all the different plays. All right. Imagine trying to box with your eyes closed or with a blindfold. Okay, you get knocked out. You can't see anything. Imagine going into a forest at night with no compass or map. You wouldn't be able to enjoy the forest. You'd want to get the hell out of there, and you probably wouldn't be able to, and you'd be lost, and you'd be in there a long time, spinning your wheels, right? It's kind of like how some guys, their dating lives are, and that was me for a long time. What awareness does, you take the blindfold off, and then I give you kind of a map or a compass or a GPS system. And that's where I get into INS, Inspire, Nurture, Surrender, which are the 3 dimensions of embrace. Can't get into all that today. It's sexual supremacy, again, if you want to understand that stuff. Okay, let's start with this, her hidden desire. I think that the most empowering belief you can have about women is that they love sex, and probably balanced with that is that they love sex with you, or that you can give a woman good sex. If you have those beliefs, a lot of other stuff falls into place. Now, this can be a challenge because women are not just taught, but sort of forced to hide that. Women are they don't have the freedom to just talk about their sexuality in public, and especially with the man they just met. They do with their girls, and women get real, they get real, what's the word, graphic when they talk to their girls. I actually have a texting conversation, I have a lot of them actually, but I'll put up some screenshots of this text. It's a girl that I used to sleep with, and we didn't date, but we were friends and we slept together. Back when I lived in Florida, and I should say this. So, anyways, she's texting me. She still sends me requests for dick pics, right? So that's the other one, and she's at work, right? So she's thinking about that at work. Now, think about her male coworkers who maybe, this woman's beautiful, by the way. So they're walking past her. She works at she has like a cubicle job, let's say. So these guys, in a cubicle job, everyone's, has to play safe and don't say anything too crazy. And these guys are looking at her and they're like, oh man, I can't say her name, but, they're thinking, oh, she's so hot, I'd love to bang her. But then she has to show like a different face at work. So they don't realize that. Now, this act that women have to put on, and it's, in a professional environment, it's understandable, but women have to do this all the time. They're not allowed to really express that wild side, that sexual side. So all these guys see that one side of her at her work. Now she's sending me, by the way, I haven't seen this girl in like a year. She's sending me requests for dick pics, right? So I send her one, and then she's showing it to all the women at work. And they're all just like, oh my God, he should be in porn and blah, blah. By the way, I'm not like hung like a horse or anything. It's just that women like dick. It's exciting. So they're looking at this, and she sends me all these texts back, like all your big attraction at the office, blah blah blah. Or she says my cubicle is a big attraction for the girls at the office, something like that. I'll put the text up. The reason why this is important, I'm not trying to brag or sound cool. Well, maybe a little bit. But the reason why I'm saying this is because when you see things like that, when you fuck a woman and then you're laying in bed with her and she's holding your dick and saying, "Oh my God, I love this thing." When you're getting texts like "I miss your cock," or you're getting texts like, "Oh, I need your hands on me," or you get enough experiences where you're fucking a woman and she's just moaning and just in total ecstasy, and then when you're done, she can't even talk. Okay, and you see this, it starts to dawn on you. Oh yeah, women like sex. Now, when I was in high school, I don't know what I was thinking. Same in college. You can consciously say, well, of course women like sex, right? We wouldn't be here if they didn't. But to actually feel that and have that internalized and have that in your consciousness, you're in your conscious mind when you see a beautiful woman walking down the street. She looks good. She's got heels. Her makeup's good. Her hair looks good. Her outfit looks nice. She looks classy, but a little sexy too. It's kind of hard. It can be hard if you haven't had a lot of experiences to see her and think, she loves to get fucked. So if you can see her and know that, it makes things a lot easier and you can walk up with a lot more confidence. Now, a woman's nature, I call it embrace. So just like your nature is thrust, hers is embrace. It's the perfect complement to you. So the things you want to do, she wants you to do to her. Okay. If you think about, for me, what I want to do when I think about sex, I want to fill her. I want to pound her. Right? I want to make her feel how hard I am for her. All right. Guess what? She wants that too. So she wants to be filled. She wants to be pounded. She wants to feel how much she has turned me on. See how it's a compliment? It's just like the yin and yang, okay? And I think that's kind of where a lot of that comes from, is the dynamic between men and women. So embrace her nature. Her nature is to receive or to feel your passion for her. The more you can do this, the more valuable you are. Your sexuality comes from, in a sense, your sexuality comes from her. She inspires it. It's like in you and she inspires it. Or maybe you're already kind of horny that day and you need someone to kind of direct it at, and then, oh, there she is, right? So your desire to thrust into her, to fuck her, to ravish her, to caress her, to touch her, to kiss her. Think about that urge being reflected, or being the exact complement or reflection of that urge existing in her. So when you see that woman and she turns you on, when you approach her, you can kind of expect or assume that urge in you is being reflected in her. So she wants to embrace and feel you. She likes that. I'm telling you, this is why the more sexual I can be, and I'm not always just talking about sex, but the more I express it, she can feel it. There's a lot going on beneath our consciousness. Pheromones, there's probably an energy thing going on. But her nature is to feel you. And she wants, essentially, on an emotional level, she wants the same experiences you have. She wants to care about people and feel cared for. She wants to feel like like she's doing something with her life. She has a sense of identity. She has interests on a more surface level. She has interests in goals and hobbies and fears and dreams and insecurities, just like you. But on a sexual level, she's your complement. She was made for you. And you got to think, there's all these beautiful women around that would love to be fucked by you. And you're going to be on your deathbed thinking back to all the women you didn't meet, you didn't talk to, you made excuses. She's waiting for you. That's her nature too. She's waiting. Now, we can get confused about this. Well, let me get to here, and then I'll talk about where the confusion comes from and how guys can really sort of get in this sort of a trap mentally where this trap, I think, is the source of anxiety, approach anxiety, and just being too neurotic and worrying about what to do next when they're talking to a woman. Okay, so this is all the good stuff. We know that women like sex. We know that women like sex with you. They want to be penetrated. They want to be approached, and they want to feel a man's passion. Okay. The problem is what I call the predicament, and it's a predicament because women they sort of have this trap or this catch-22 going on. Men, we want to have sex with them, right? But as soon as they have sex, boom, she's a slut. And this starts early. This starts in middle school when. Really a lot of it starts with women or girls in middle school doing this to each other, labeling each other, using the word slut or spreading rumors as like kind of like social terrorism, really. It's like warfare. And in high school, she maybe hooks up with a guy at a party, boom, she's a slut, everybody knows. And so women are always going through this. They're just as sexual as you, probably more so. I mean, God, look at 50 Shades of Grey. No one's writing like stuff like that for guys. What do we watch? We like the blowjobs and the doggy style, and we're good. 50 Shades of Grey, and read what's the book? My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday, and then there's 2 sequels to it. But women have really rich, varied, and exciting, wild sexual fantasies. Okay, women are very sexual. Problem is they can't show it. You can high five your buddies if you just had sex. Women don't really do that. She may have like 1 or 2 friends that she's open about, but even then, I've talked to them and they're like, there's stuff I won't even tell my best friend because I don't want to be judged. Imagine that. Imagine being your value as a human being goes down because you did something that you were naturally wired to do. It sucks. Now, this lack of motivation, this is another thing that I think maybe guys haven't really considered. As men, when we have sex, it's usually good, like if you come, right? Even if it's not the best. I mean, I've had really passionate sex, and then I've had like okay, and then maybe not so great. But ultimately, it was all pretty good, right? I ended up having an orgasm, and there's the ego boost. I just got laid, put another notch on my belt, right? So for us, for men, there's not much risk. There's not much investment. We're going to probably have an orgasm. So our motivation is high because we can do this fun thing. And there's also the biological wiring of you're reproducing. So there's a strong urge for the species to keep going so that you have that motivation without a lot of risk, it's all pro, no con, right? Well, for women, it's a lot different because sex carries with it a lot of risk. Also, potential loss of reputation. Also, potentially losing this guy after he got what he wanted. And most women have not had a lot of satisfying sexual experiences. Now, some women have. I'm not saying that all guys are bad in bed, but most guys are not very good in bed. And I don't think anybody is going to argue with me on that, especially women. But I just know from talking to women, as they're being really honest and open with me, they'll say, like, most guys suck in bed. And even if she's had a lot of passionate, satisfying experiences, she probably hasn't had, depending on, again, it varies, but she probably hasn't consistently had orgasms during sex. So you got to think that an orgasm is a pretty strong motivator. I mean, it really drives you. If she doesn't have the sense that she'll get an orgasm or have a passionate, satisfying sexual experience, or even feel like that sex is going to connect her with the man more, why would she want to do it? Because you got to think it's going to take time. She's taking a risk. Now, you wear a condom, sure, but there's still the evolutionary instinct of protecting her body because she could get pregnant. Men don't get pregnant, women get pregnant. Changes the game. So you got to think, she's risking a lot for what? She doesn't know if you're good in bed or not, but based on her previous experience, she's guessing it's going to be like the others. What's her motivation? You got to turn her on. I'll tell you how to do that in a second. There was one other thing I want to talk about. Oh, guys who talk about, any guy, if you've ever done this, if you've ever tried to convince a woman to have sex with you, if you've ever gotten mad because a woman wouldn't have sex with you, if you've ever done stuff to get her to have sex with you, like, I don't know, buying her dinner, getting her flowers, all these unnecessary things that kind of, you're just doing her a lot of favors to get sex from her, you are creating a disconnect there. If you try to get a woman to give it up, you are creating a disconnect. Because what you're doing is you're talking to a human being who, this is her body. It's her body. You're going to get mad because she wouldn't let you in her body. It's her fucking body. Also, if you're pressuring her to allow her to go into her body, how fucking dare you? You're no longer seeing her as a human being there. You're seeing her as a fleshlight. That's what she is to you. How do you think that would make her feel? You got to see her as a real person, as a human being just like you. And that will get you laid, I promise, okay? So, by the way, if you have intentions of sleeping with women and abandoning them, I can't tell you what to do, but it's not necessary. Why would you do that? If you don't want to have a relationship, just say, I like you, you're awesome, but I just don't want to have a relationship right now, or I just don't want a girlfriend right now. It's going to piss her off. She's going to get mad. She might even cry. Hold your ground. Allow her to have her emotional moment and say, if you want to stop, if you don't want to sleep with me anymore, that's okay. I respect that because you're going to have the tools to meet another woman and sleep with her if you want. And so, but I'm telling you, women will respect that more, and they're probably going to be more likely to keep sleeping with you with the understanding that it's not going to lead into a relationship. Or it might. You might change your mind. You never know. But there's no reason to abandon women. It's just a mean thing to do, and it's completely unnecessary. All right, so before I get into, how to have open relationships, how to sleep with women without having to commit to being their boyfriend or pretending to be, which is what a lot of guys do, I'm going to save that for another video, but I'll definitely get into that at some point. Okay, the next part is exploration. I advise more of an exploration approach, exploring women. When you try to completely understand them, like I have women in this box and I know them, I understand them. It's like you're trying to reduce her to like a computer program or like a car or something. Guys like to understand it, and that's the thing that they have control over it. That's not reality. You're not going to be able to get that with women. That's an ego-based desire to basically want to own them, and it's never going to happen. Now, the control I'm talking about, where she gives it to you, that's completely different. I'll get into that in a second. Okay, so exploration. Conversationally, you want to explore her. So think about, okay, going back to earlier, I said that I gave you this forest analogy where you're in this forest, and I pick forest because I like being outdoors and I like trees and stuff. So you're in this forest, and it's complicated. There's a lot of different paths and a lot of stuff going on. You don't really know the boundaries or where it starts and ends, but you like it. So you're in the forest, and you have your blindfold on. You don't have a map. Then now we take the blindfold off. Okay, and then the map would be kind of the guidance system that I give you in sexual supremacy. But you take your blindfold off, and now it's no longer about stumbling around. It's no longer about getting out of there. It's no longer about you're not freaking out because you don't understand it. Now you're looking around, you see how beautiful it is, and you can enjoy it. And there's no rush to get out of there. There's no need to sort of come up with all these ideas and concepts of like what's over here and what's over there. You can see it with your eyes wide open. When you talk to a woman like a human being and actually try to learn about her and learn what you want to know about her, you're revealing her. You're seeing more and more of her, almost like a puzzle where you put in different pieces. You'll never complete the puzzle, but just putting the puzzle together with this individual woman is inherently rewarding because you're constantly building and building and building this beautiful picture, right? So I advocate exploration. Don't try to figure women out completely. Learn from them and learn on an individual basis. There's universal principles, absolutely. But on an individual basis, explore the woman. Now, what does that mean? That means asking questions. That means paying attention and just kind of feeling and observing. The other thing about exploring a woman, initially to start out with, is that women like to be explored. That's what makes good foreplay. Learning about her body by touching it and kissing it. That's my mindset. So when you do this in a conversation, when you're talking to a woman and you're looking at her and you're not just, women can tell when you see them and when you're just kind of looking at them, but you're in your head thinking about what to say next to get sex. Women, with me, they feel seen. They tell me this. It's because I'm actually paying attention to them. I'm not thinking about the concept of woman and trying to say the right things to the right combination of buttons to make the robot's panties drop. Okay, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm paying attention to her, and as I'm doing that, I'm really thinking about her mentally. So I'm looking at her and thinking about her. And as I'm doing this, she sees that this guy will be attentive, and that's the key to foreplay. I mean, women always say this, a man who's attentive. I also am communicating. I'm learning about her more. Okay, so now I haven't even gotten to the sexual stuff yet, but what I'm doing is communicating that I'd be good in bed. Because what makes a man good in bed? He's attentive, he communicates, he's passionate about her. I'm communicating all this by just looking at her and focusing on her and asking her questions about what makes her tick. And that gets into me conversation, mental experience. Don't have time for that right now. But explore her. That communicates that you'll be good in bed, which means you'll be good at foreplay. For women, being good in bed means foreplay. And good foreplay means being attentive and communicating. And that means you got to be curious about her. Okay, so and now when I said earlier, I ask her what I want to know. I'll get more specific about that in a second, but basically, I want to know what turns her on. I want to know how to please her. And so let's move into that.